This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 246 of the Dressage Radio Show, part of the Horse Radio Network. This episode is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
This is Reese Koppler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Fergus, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show. Hi, Reese.
Hey, Philip.
How you doing?
How are you? I'm great. How are
well,
you?
I just had a little bit of a rant again about the weather, but we won't go on too much about that. And
We
now
won't.
I'm doing okay, and I'm feeling fine. So, yeah, it's just feels like a very short week for us. We're trying to get this done a little early.
Yeah, we just did our last show a couple days ago, and we're getting ready to go to Florida. So I see the light at the end of the tunnel, at least for us. But yes, it has been a challenge. It's been a challenge for sure. Yesterday it was quite fun yesterday. We hit 30 degrees, which was literally 25 degrees warmer than the day before. So we felt like we were in Florida, and everybody came out to ride. Okay. And it was quite fun. It really was fun. It was like a riding school, and the horses, I think, had a great time. At one time, there were like 6 horses in my ring, and I was sitting under my heater coaching everybody. It was really quite fun. So
was everybody nose to tail?
Like nose to tail.
School?
No, they were doing their thing. Yeah, okay. They were doing their thing. Everyone's smiling and relatively warm, so it was good. So, hopefully everybody got a little reprieve. But yeah, it's rough. But that's okay. We've got a great show tonight, and we're looking forward. We are going to have lots and lots and lots of great stuff next week when we get back from Global Dressage Forum North America. So it's going to be a much needed break for us, and we hope we can bring that to everybody for sure.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're really looking forward to it, and we'll do a little networking, see if we can get some great guests on and talk to people about the show. So, that's why we're doing things a little early, because we both have to prepare. We don't have a lot of time this week to be doing the show, so. For us, it's Sunday at the moment. So
yes, it is Sunday.
If something huge happened this week, don't say like, "Oh, Reese and Phil, you don't live in reality." We're just doing this early, yeah, and then we can get to everything, lots of stuff, the following week. But thank goodness we have some results we were talking about the big 4-star big money show going on over the weekend. So we have some of the results here and a little bit of news to get to before we get to our show. So what's going on, Reese? What's
okay? So we've got some results from the 4-star and 3-star competition at the Global Dressage Festival. It's the 5th week of competition that just happened this weekend, and on Saturday at the stadium at Palm Beach International Equestrian Center, featuring the 4-star and 3-star. Saturday's special 4-star was won by Adrienne Lyle. She was on our Olympic team last year or 2 years ago, and aboard Wizard. He's a 15-year-old Oldenburg gelding by Veltmeyer, owned by Peggy Thomas, and they scored a 70.353 for the win with Megan Lane from Canada, and Caravella was second with a 69.922.
Yep, and the 4-star Grand Prix was won by Lars Peterson, and that horse, lovely mare, Mariette. Second place, Tina Konya, which we haven't seen out in competition yet this season, and I guess this is our first big show, and Collecto V, so that was nice to see her back. Looks like at top form. That was a 75.5% for Tina, and then Michaela Gunderson with My Lady in third of the 72. The Grand Prix, the regular Grand Prix, was also won by Lars Peterson with Mariette, 70%. Adrienne Lyle was second in that class, and Michaela Winter Gunderson was third. And Shelley Francis, who I think this might have been her first show this season as well, with Doctor, was fourth. So congratulations to all those who did well in the 3-star and 4-star competition this weekend. It was a big one, and I guess kind of the first big show. We saw a lot of big names in this show. It looks like the classes were pretty full. Probably a very busy weekend at Global Dressage Festival this weekend. So hopefully we can go and see some of these riders and see how they're doing and check out all the other good stuff going on in Florida this week.
Yeah, I know. There's no show going on this weekend. Maybe a national show, but there's no CDI this weekend.
No.
So I'm kind of bummed we don't get to see a CDI, but I'm sure we'll get to talk to lots of people that have, so that'll be fun. So also Stephen Peters, it was a big weekend, and he was in California. Stephen Peters rode legless in their first competition in 5 months, post the highest score to date for the partnership, winning the Grand Prix at California Dressage Society San Diego Midwinter Show on Saturday. And it was the first outing for Rosamunda. They won the Prix St. George, and that's his young horse. And the score for Legolas was an 81.914. Woo!
The next little piece of news that came out is the officials for the All-Tech FEI World Equestrian Games have been decided. The ground jury for dressage at the World Equestrian Games, following a blind draw at the FEI's headquarters in Lausanne, Sweden. Nope, sorry, that's Switzerland. Overseen by the FEI's legal team. I guess it's a big deal to pick the ground jury.
Yeah, geez, I had no idea. Holy smokes.
So the ground jury includes President Isabelle Judet from France, supported by members Elizabeth McMillan from Canada, Suzanne Hovenars from Austria, Stephen Clark, Great Britain, Lieselette Four from the U.S., Dietrich Pleva from Germany, Francis Verbeek from Netherlands, and reserve member Suzanne Barup from Denmark. I guess they're using the judges' supervisory panel includes Dieter Schule from Germany, Ghislaine Forage from Netherlands, David Hunt from Great Britain, and Maribel Alonso from Mexico. So a lot of famous judging names. It's it's kind of a big deal. To be picked to judge the World Equestrian Games is a big honor, and it'll be great. I mean, it's just gearing up for this. It's the big games of 2014, so we're all looking forward to it. I'm sure more little tidbits of news will be coming out as we come, as it gets closer and closer. So, big excitement. It only happens every 4 years, and we get so much great news and great video from the World Equestrian Games. So, it'll be great. I guess that'll be our next thing to be
That's our next big thing to gear up.
And then Glenn will be sending us there to cover it, right?
I know, Glenn. That would be great. We would love that.
Let's talk that. Let's get him back on the show. Where has he been for so long?
He's not on the show tonight to say no. So, it's kind of like at a board meeting when you're absent.
Yeah, what we say goes. We got a majority here. So
we get a majority on the show. Well, that would be awesome. Well, in other news, Catherine Bateson-Chandler and Wellinette, they topped the 3-star Grand Prix classes. They won with a 69.280. Australian Kelly Lane narrowly finished second, 69.240 on Udon P. And Michael Verasone on Allegra, they finished third. So that was exciting news from the 3-star. And Catherine Bateson-Chandler doing a great job on her new mare. So definitely a fun combination to watch for sure. So we're trying to give everybody some other news and events in Florida. If you so want to go, we're kind of getting to the end or middle of the season. So there is the save the date for the second annual Solid Gold USET Foundation Benefit Dinner held at Global Dressage Facility VIP tent, March 15th, 2014. And this is a benefit to benefit all the riders going to the 2014 World Equestrian Games and the High Performance Program. 100% of the money raised from ticket sales, auction item, and donations will go directly to the high-performance athletes and programs. All donations are tax deductible. So I'm sure there will be some other information on the USET Foundation website, but that would be a fun event to go to. Those are great fun to go and enjoy, and you will have a great time. So that's another event in Florida to keep an eye out for. So, Phil, we have a great show tonight. We have a good friend of ours, Cassandra Hummert-Johnson, is coming on, and she's going to talk about, she's working on her fitness certificate, personal training certificate, and she's going to give us some great exercises to kind of get us back in the swing of things. I know you and I are constantly complaining that all we want to do is sit in the house under a warm blanket. I have been watching the Olympic Games a lot. I love Olympic fever, but I haven't been working out, just been looking at how fit they are. So this is a great way to get started and get us all sort of back in the swing of things for sure. And then to finish the show, you and I are going to do a listener question. We have been promising Vera for a long time we would answer this question. It's a great listener question. So right after this commercial break, we're going to get started and we'll be back.
Joint Armor from KPP provides your horse with the building blocks necessary to maintain healthy joints throughout his lifetime. Kentucky Performance Products Quality Assurance provides you with the confidence that you are purchasing a safe, high-quality product. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Joint Armor is concentrated and affordable. One jar lasts a whole 75 days. Joint Armor helps maintain fluid motion and flexibility in your horse's joints. It also supports normal cartilage development and reduces joint deterioration. Learn more about Joint Armor from Kentucky Performance Products and all their other terrific products at kppusa.com. That's kppusa.com.
Well, our next guest, Cassandra Hummert Johnson, a good friend of mine and a USDF bronze, silver, and gold medalist now, is on a new journey to become a personal trainer and is going to specialize in equine and riding because she knows exactly what muscles we need. So she's going to try and get us off the couch and doing some exercises to get ready for this year's show season. So Cassie, welcome to the show. Well, it is our pleasure to have Cassandra Hummert Johnson back on the Dressage Radio Show. She is a bronze, silver, and gold medalist, and she has now started a new adventure in her life, and that is to become a personal trainer. So, Cassie, welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you, Reese.
Well, we love having you back. You came on, gosh, it was a couple years ago now, talking about your career as a young rider, and now you've ridden in the Brentina Cup, and you have now started another venture in your life, becoming a little personal trainer, actually.
Yes, I have. I am working on my certified personal training certificate from the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Well, I love it. So as we have all been kind of, I don't know about anyone else, but I am happy to finish my barn work and get into my pajamas and watch the Winter Olympics. So I thought it would be great to have Cassie on to give myself, Philip, and everybody listening some kind of excitement and just some exercises that we can start doing to be ready when it stops snowing. So we'll be ready for show season and all that good stuff. So Cass, start with your first exercise for us.
All right, Reese. I have 3 exercises that I'm going to talk about today, and each one of them is really for the dressage rider. And there are 3 different areas that dressage riders usually have problems in. And the first area is if someone comes in for personal training in the gym and they have really overdeveloped biceps. And if they're a rider, I think if you have really strong biceps, I think that you're using the reins too much instead of your core, your abs. So to work on that, an easy exercise for anyone to do, even if you're sitting in front of the TV watching the Olympics, is the plank. And I think everyone has an idea of what the plank is, but you start in a push-up position on the ground and then lower yourself on your forearms and hold that by squeezing your abs. And even if you can make it 30 seconds, that's good enough. Every day, do a couple seconds more. And the plank really works every muscle in your body, but it'll strengthen your core so that you stop using the reins for balance and can instead use your core and your abs for balance when you're riding. So that's the first exercise I have. The second exercise is a different part of the body. It's for tight hips. And I know that when I ride, my hips get really tight. And that's really important to you loosen your hips when you're riding so that you can move with the horse. So an exercise for tight hips at home that you can do at home, don't even have to go to the gym, is a side leg swing. And to do the side leg swing, you stand facing a wall, and you can lean your hands against the wall out in front of you, and you take one leg, swing it out to the side, and then across in front of the other leg, and swing it like a pendulum. And that's a side leg swing, and that'll really help open up your hips so that you're looser there when you're sitting on the horse. And then the last exercise I have isn't really an exercise. It's just a point to make about riding in general is one-sidedness. And horses can be one-sided just like people, but one-sidedness in people is a problem too. If you're really strong on one side and not on the other side, it can make it difficult to properly ride and to use your aids effectively both directions. So one thing that we can think about with one-sidedness that's really easy is just doing things with your other hand. So if you usually curry the horse with your right hand, use the curry comb in your left hand instead. And that'll strengthen even those muscles that you don't even think about, your biceps and your shoulders and your pectoral muscles. If you use your left hand to curry the horse instead of your right hand, you're working both sides of the body, and that's really important. So all those things are good points to think about. They're easy exercises, and they'll help any rider with their dressage work.
That sounds good. I think it's tough, especially. I mean, a lot of us haven't really been riding a whole lot, or the horse is working really hard. So I think it's just a great point to think about different ways that you can still be active, even if you're indoors a lot, like me. So it's super.
Like all of us.
Yeah, I mean we're all. I mean I've just been hunkered in, sort of hibernating and not doing a whole lot of that. So I think anything that helps us try to stay a little more active, and because I know part of not being able to exercise really it just sets in a little bit with a seasonal affected disorder, and then you just feel really crappy, and then I just want to go out and yell at everybody. So that's not really helpful.
That's Cranky Phillip, everybody. We don't like Cranky Phillip.
I think I've been good so far, but today it was tough. So I wanted to thank you, Cassie, for coming on and giving us some ideas, and stay active, right, and be busy. And like Reese said, we're going to be full swing as soon as the weather turns around into having to ride a ton of horses, and if we've been lumps for a few months, that's not really it's not really easy to make that transition.
Yeah, it's always tough coming from the winter to the summer, but we'll get there, and it's important to start to get ready for that, because it's just as important for the rider to be fit as the horses to be fit when we get into that show season, because we're all athletes. We're the athletes too, not just our horses. So gear up for the summer.
I love that. Well, and Cassie, I think you brought up a really good point that I sat here and made a note on myself, and that is we do a lot of stuff. When you said curry with your right hand, I'm like, oh, you're right. I always curry with my right hand. So to think about that as you're doing your chores too, as you're mucking stalls, if you can start to do some on the other side, that is actually a really good point to muck maybe with your other hand or curry with your other hand. So I'm going to take that into the barn tomorrow and see how much one-sidedness I do, because I'm sure it's a lot. So I appreciate that particular comment, because I think that's really going to be helpful for all of us.
Yeah, it really is incredible. Even if you try brushing your teeth with your left hand, it's hilarious. It'll make your day how hard it is. So it's good to try and create that ambidexterity, because it's important, just like it's important with the horses.
Excellent. Well, Cassie, if our listeners have any questions, how can they find you online to ask you some more fitness questions?
They can contact me. My email is hummertjohnsonc@uky.edu.
Great. Thanks so much, Cassie. And we'll stay in touch with some more exercises.
All right, Reese, thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon.
The Global Dressage Forum North America, the ultimate educational experience where champions meet.
After this winter, who won't want to be in Wellington, Florida for the second annual Global Dressage Forum North America, presented by DressageClinic.com. Mark your calendars and book your plane tickets for the event of the season, Saturday, February 15th and Sunday, February 16th at the Jim Brandon Center. Some of the world's most recognized dressage experts and educators, including Stefan Clark, international rider Jan Brink, Konrad Schumacher, Christoph Hess, and many, many more will be presenting on-stage demonstrations, lectures, interactive discussions, and panels consisting of some of the world's most internationally recognized trainers and judges. Did we mention the shopping in the warm Florida sun in February? The Global Dressage Forum North America 2014 is presenting the highest profile educational gathering ever to be held in North America, encouraging every dressage rider from across the U.S. and Canada to come and participate in this gathering representing dressage education in its finest form. Buy your tickets now as seating is limited. Be sure to use the coupon code USDF, the number 4, DFNA. That's USDF, the number 4, DFNA, all caps, for a big savings on your tickets. Visit the website today at globaldressageforumna.com or call them at 561-909-7621. That's 561-909-7621. Let them know you heard about it on the Dressage Radio Show.
Well, it is a pleasure for me to have Ann Gribbons, FEI rider, trainer, USEF senior judge, FEI judge, and past USEF technical advisor and coach. Hi, Ann. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I am delighted to be here.
Excellent. So first, we were just discussing this. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Global Dressage Forum North America that'll be happening this week and that you are a part of and was a part of last year. I just wanted to ask you, Ann, what do you think about the format and how it runs and does it make this symposium a little bit different than others that you've been involved in?
The most interesting part is perhaps that the panel has the opportunity to ask questions. And I think last year was, of course, the inaugural affair.
Yes.
And we had a few little hiccups with it that I'm sure Andreas has ironed out this time, such as that, we ran a little late.
Right.
And some of the interviews got a little long. So what we got from the audience was that they want, more action and less talk.
Oh, okay.
But I do also think once they get the action from the presenters, then they like the questions and answers. Then they settle down and they go, okay, now let's
they're ready
talk.
to
And
talk.
they also have the opportunity to ask questions.
Yes.
So they can really become involved. And I do like the format from that point of view.
Yes, I think it's really interesting how more than maybe some other clinics and symposiums that you really talk about and get in maybe a little bit to the nitty-gritty of the training and everybody gets a chance to talk about it a little bit. So I think that's going to be really interesting. This will be. I wasn't there last year, but Reese and I are going down, and we're really looking forward to seeing how this whole thing comes together. And I think it's exciting to have, different opinions because we all come from maybe a little bit a different perspective with training, and hopefully through discussion, it helps everyone understand, everything a little bit better. So really looking forward to it.
I think it always does, especially if they have the opportunity to voice their opinion once they have listened to or watched what's going on. And we have a very interesting lineup of people. We did last year as well. But there's a variety of, riders and judges and clinicians, and they all have something to offer, something to bring to the table. So it's people that everybody has heard of or know, and they like that.
Yes, I think that's great. Yeah, a lot of great riders that I've seen before and trainers, and I think everybody adds. The more that we can add a little bit, I think the horses get trained better, and the education goes a little bit further. So I think it's going to be really fun. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I think they've really capitalized this year on people that are in Florida. So such as Tina, who is here for the third year, I believe, and now understands our way of doing things and thinking, and I think has added a lot to the whole Florida scene. And Stephen Clark, of course, who is now, our head honcho amongst judges.
That's right.
And can really answer some of those questions. And he was on the panel last year. But now he's one of the presenters, so that should be interesting. Now we can grill him a little.
Give him a little bit of a hard time. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And Jan Brink is somebody, of course, I know all these Swedes very well.
Yes.
Before, so it's great to see them here and partaking. I really enjoy that personally.
Excellent, excellent. So the main reason actually that we wanted to have you on today is because we've been getting a lot of questions from our listeners about the new FEI tests. So maybe you can introduce I believe there's 2 new levels. Maybe you can introduce us to the 2 new levels and why they were created and how they fit in with the old FEI tests that we know, Prix Saint George, Intermediaire, and Grand Prix.
Well, it was an idea that was born in the FEI Dressage Committee, which I was on for 4 years, and just my time just ran out on that. But I was still on it when this was introduced, and we tried to have a level that would carefully and slowly introduce the Grand Prix horse to the things that we later on want to see in a more perfected form at the Grand Prix. And the Intermediate 2 is quite close to Grand Prix in many ways. And for some horses, that step from Prix Saint George Intermediaire 1 to Grand Prix is like a whole new sport because of the addition of the Piaffe and Passage and the requirements of collection and the tighter pirouettes, the better self-carriage, all this. So this was created, I think, mainly by Katrina Wüst, but presented to the Dressage Committee while I still was on it. And we also thought it would be a very good thing to present to the developing countries, some of which don't have Grand Prix horses to any extent yet. But they, to help them to get into that level without the demands of the actual Grand Prix. So this was the thinking. But we were surprised to find that it was adopted and really liked by competitors all over, including the European competitors, because they think this is a great opportunity to bring their young horses to a show. They can still ride in an FEI test and get points or whatever.
Right.
And they can bring their not quite ready Grand Prix horse to come to the shows with them. They don't have to sit at home in the barn, and they have something to do, and they can learn.
Right. So it's a little bit of a test to be able to expose the horse maybe to, big arenas and big crowds. Is that the idea?
That's the idea, and also expose them to having to do Piaffe and Passage in the ring, which sometimes when you bring your previous Prix Saint George, your small tour horse, as we call it, to the big tour, the horse's eyes get big, and he goes, "You have to be joking! I'm not going to. I've practiced this at home, but I'm not going to do it in here. For real, in public." And it's sometimes a shock to their system, and it takes them about a year to get used to it. Here it's a little bit less demanding. It's all in there. Everything is in there, but the requirements and directives are less demanding. For example, the Piaffe is really presented within parentheses as a half step, which means that you can move forward as much as 2 meters. Now, that's pretty far.
Yeah.
And it's usually presented from either the collected trot or the walk, such in the B test, collected trot in the A test. So that's how we practice it. That's how we first introduce it. Some horses do better from the collected trot to the Piaffe, and some are fine from the walk to the Piaffe. But we don't necessarily can connect the Piaffe and Passage and the transitions until later on. So the A test is set up to accommodate that. So we do Piaffe and Passage separately, not necessarily with transitions, and that's how we train many of our horses. They think of it as 2 different things.
Right.
And that is for the A test, and it also doesn't ask for more than 5 2-tempi changes, which is easier than 9.
Yeah.
And then we do the pirouettes on the short diagonal, which is more like the Intermediate 1, and 7 flying changes every stride. So the whole thing is watered down a little bit. Yes,
right.
The same requirements, but with a milder touch, so to speak.
So an easier transition from small tour to big tour.
Correct, and easier than Intermediate 2 even, which we did fix up a bit. We changed that stupid thing, passaging right into the wall.
Yeah.
And so the Intermediate 2 is easier to ride, but it is more demanding than this.
Than this, yeah. So we have a whole bunch of levels where all kinds of horses can fit in, depending on their training and their maturity.
And the real beginner Grand Prix horse can do it, sniff on this a little bit, but we are only kidding. It's not. Right. We're not asking. The judges are not going to be as demanding on that perfect piaffe, and the transitions aren't even there much in the A test. The B test gets a little bit trickier with sharper half passes and the piaffes from the collected walk, but then some more interesting transitions back and forth. One thing in the B test that is difficult and interesting is that you do on a shortened diagonal, like M to V, 5 flying changes every second stride. Then you go on a half circle and you have to give and retake the reins just on the half circle.
Yeah.
Then you turn back on that same size diagonal and you do your ones. But that is to show that the horse is in real self-carriage between the changes, and it is not easy.
Right, right. I know lots of horses with tons of energy in their changes, and they want to kind of...
This is going to be a tough thing to show that while you are teaching this young horse to do this, he still is ready to take the half vault, get back on his haunches after the twos, and accept the half vault and stay in self-carriage and get organized for the one. So that this is some of my students have tried this, and I tried it myself, and I would just say, that's quite a bite.
It's difficult,
but it's a good exercise because it shows you what you need to do.
Well, and that the horses can still be relaxed even when they're in the ring, right? We see lots of horses with tension
and attentive, so that he hasn't barreled you through the twos and now he's out of control.
Yes, yeah.
And so he comes back, he sits, he waits, and then you have to do the ones. That is not an easy movement, but it shows you a lot about the self-carriage or lack thereof.
Right.
And then you have a little bit later, you have on the center line, you have a halt and rein back on the center line and then right into a medium trot. That used to be in another test way back, but that also is a suppleness thing. Can you stop on the center line and rein back and then immediately go into a medium trot? It's a matter of elasticity and engagement, testing that.
So what was the process in coming up with these tests? How do the FEI tests get written, and who's involved in that process?
Over the years, different smart people like Katrina, who was, I guess, asked to help, and really, I'm sure, with some advice from other people as well, but came up with these things, who she's herself a rider, a long-time judge. And usually it's for the FEI, it's a matter of one or two people presenting the test, and the committee looks it over. Then we send it out to the stakeholders, mainly the riders, to take a look, and then they send back their comments, and then you either vote it in or get rid of it. Right. So that was the process, Right. And it's a little different in the United States, where we have a whole big committee that puts together our tests. Right. And that's part of our National Dressage Committee, our technical committee. They put together the tests, and they do that. They renew them and look them over every, I think, 4 years.
Yeah, I think it's about 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same process, just more people and more ideas, and then they all get together, they look it over, they really work on that to make it the best kind of a stepping stone for the horses to get to Grand Prix, which is always our ultimate goal. Yes. Every horse doesn't make it to Grand Prix, but that's the goal of every dressage rider. So, and all these tests, including these 2 new ones, are all supposed to be a help on the way. It's like a work in progress, and then you go up one level and you try and try. You're not done until the horse is at the Grand Prix.
I think it really does a good job of making sure that the training of the horse there's a guideline to which to follow, and to that as trainers that we have all of these tests to say this is how these are the steps in which to teach a horse to go all the way to Grand Prix. So I think it's really great that there's even some more intermediate steps to help with that, and to give people the right idea, and like you said, with that movement with the twos and the giving of the reins and then doing the ones, making sure that the training is in the right way and in a relaxed way. I think that's really neat with these new tests, how it does that, how it guides towards it, because there's always been that big jump between, I won, and then all of a sudden the horse is supposed to be, PFing in the spot and doing the twos and the ones and, on, lots of them. And that's been hard. So I think it helps horses, and I think it helps trainers, and I think that's really great.
Yeah, and the response from the riders in general all over the world has been very positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
so have you seen this?
They like to be reminded of the training scale as they go. What is the horse supposed to be able to do at this point?
Right.
And that helps us in the training.
Yeah, exactly. The more guidance there is from the FEI or from the judges, the easier it gets, I think. So there's no freestyle associated with the new test. Is that correct?
Nope. No. And we are that's a whole different story. I just came back from a freestyle symposium with Katrina, who's trying to help workers yesterday. She gave one in Florida, and I'm sure she will give more. That is working mainly concentrating on the difficulty score. But the freestyle is a real work in progress as far as the judging goes.
Right.
And we are, hard at work to try to make that as the artistic side. The technical side is not a problem. The artistic side of the freestyle as transparent to the riders and the spectators as possible.
Yes.
And that is a really difficult thing to do. Because
there's been a lot of discussion around this, and I think it's...
And a lot of that is really has a way of becoming more subjective than anything else, such as the difficulty, choreography, and the music. Those three things can become a strange area or like a foggy area for the riders and the spectators to understand how we get to that. And it is not easy to judge freestyle, because now you have to understand that the judge has to, at the same time as they assess the technical of every movement, they have to, in the back of their mind, also think of how the choreography worked, how difficult was it compared to the rides, and if you have 20 rides of freestyles, you do.
Right.
And then you have to also see how the music fits and how they interpreted it. That's a big job, all at the same time. Your brain has to work in different channels. And the more help we can get to sort this out in a logical way that doesn't take away the artistic feel, because even judges have a certain feel for judging. You don't want to take that out, because then you might as well have computers and only care about the technical.
Right.
But if you want a judge to be a human being, you have to help them as much as possible with a program that can really be accurate and at the same time leave something for the evaluation of such things that you can't really touch, like presence and elasticity and how the whole combination looks together, the ambiance of a horse, which is really the beauty of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes, that takes, I think, for me, dressage beyond the level of just sport, but to that next level of that artistic and beauty and beautiful horses and riding. And so you need, like you said, you can't have computers judge that. You need humans to be able to judge that.
No,
but it's a very, very hard job, yeah.
Yeah, that part has to be subjective. But as much as possible, we try to make it clear how we arrive at the scores. And I think sorting out the difficulty to begin with the help of computers and numbers, is going to help.
Yes. Well, we've seen lots of suggestions and ideas for, developing the judging of the freestyle. So we'll have to see, how it all works out. I think over the next, few years, we're going to see some changes, some differences. And, I think what we have to not be afraid of is being scared of trying something new. I mean, having all this technology available to us can help. So, we'll see how we'll just have to see what happens, right, and how it develops.
Yeah, well, we're working on it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Anne, so much for coming on the show with me tonight and filling in a few questions for our listeners and for myself. about these new levels, and I'm really excited to go down to Florida and see you at the Global Dressage Forum, North America. It sounds like it's going to be really great. So I look forward to seeing you there.
Well, me too. So I'll see you during the weekend.
Excellent. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Well, this is a listener question from Vera that we have been trying to answer for the last month. So I'm glad we're going to get some time. This is a great question. And Philip, can you read the question for us?
Okay. Actually, I was talking to Vera at a show last summer, and she discussed this topic with me. And you know what? It just kind of, I was, I was in show mode, and then I totally kind of forgot about it. And I'm so glad that she wrote it. The question is how to decide that the horse-rider combination is not compatible. When is the line between you should try harder and this will never work out? Where's the line between those two things? How to prevent oneself from sinking into I am no good as a rider, and it's when we talk about that's the question. So I'll just get a little bit to it here.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I know that we talk a lot as trainers about we should always kind of blame the rider for all the problems. But I think Vera makes a good point that sometimes the combination is not all that compatible. So I guess we should just kind of discuss this a little bit. What are our thoughts on it, and maybe you can get us started, get us going here, Reese.
Sure. I mean, I think this is a great question, and this does happen. Absolutely. It happens not only with horses. I mean, there's a lot of different components to the horses. There's your barn and your facility and your staff and the trainer and the rider. And, there are times, and I like to bring this back to thinking about when you were in school. There's times where you don't like a school that you go to. You just don't. And I can't imagine that horses and or riders don't feel the same way. So I think when you start thinking about it that way, there's a lot of things when a horse and rider combination look like they're not working. There's a lot of things you got to step back and you've got to evaluate, because sometimes it is the horse just doesn't like the rider. I have had that happen where I have had absolutely no trouble with the horse. I put other people on the horse and the owner comes to ride the horse and the horse pins its ears and it's very obvious that horse does not like that rider. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And I think sometimes, you have to evaluate why maybe does that horse not like that rider? Is it something that we can fix? For example, is it the rider's, I don't know, just an example, bumpy hands or bumpy seat? Or does the horse not like, if the horse is a real kind of lazy horse, does it not like its type A rider? Or so there's a lot of different factors there on why people aren't compatible with horses. When I have that situation happen, I always check the tack. Does the saddle fit? Are they getting pinched? You've got to check all of those things. Has the horse seen the vet? Does that rider take enough time to bond with that horse? I think sometimes that's something that doesn't happen. You don't spend some extra time with the horse. So sometimes that'll help if you bond. I've had horse and rider combinations where I've had to think out of the box and bring in, we have the Lexington Mounted Police, and they come in and they do different exercises working with horse and rider from the ground, desensitization and lots of different things. So sometimes I'll bring them in and see if that kind of changes it up when the rider has to do something different with the horse. And so that's kind of my thing, Phil. I mean, I think that there's a lot of times when that's happening that you really have to stop and evaluate, or does the horse not like the facility, or does the horse not like the amount of turnout, or, sometimes you got to switch it up a little to see what's happening. And I think sometimes though, it's just like a marriage. Sometimes it just isn't gonna work. And I think that after you've sort of exhausted all of that and maybe tried a trainer, maybe two trainers, maybe then it is time maybe to sell that horse and move on for the horse and for the rider. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I like it. The horses have personalities, and people have personalities, and sometimes they just clash. It doesn't mean that the rider is terrible or that the horse is terrible. It's just something that happens. I think if it's a problem that's newly developed, I think you have to look for the like if it's symptoms of an issue. But otherwise, then you have to have a really good discussion with your trainer, because they're your eyes on the ground and are there to guide you and have ideas and But if you're feeling this way and you're not discussing it with anyone, that's a bit of a problem, right? So I think you can't always put all the blame on yourself for sometimes these issues and these problems, and that maybe the horse would be happier and you would be happier if the horse was with a different rider.
Yeah. And I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I mean, I think some people, it's really devastating. And I've had horses that have come in for training that I've had to say, listen, maybe try another rider or two on them, thinking maybe.
Yeah.
So even as trainers, sometimes we get horses in that just aren't going to work in the program. Sometimes I get clients in that aren't going to work in the program, and I'm not working for them either. And I think as I've gotten maybe more mature in my training, I've recognized that. I've learned that doesn't mean I'm a bad trainer. It doesn't mean that the person's a bad person or horse is bad. It's just maybe not the right chemistry or the right combination. And, then certainly we try to do as much as we can to eliminate that. But, I think sometimes that can happen. So to step back, and it's nobody's fault. It's nobody trying to do anything. It's just not the right match. So
yeah, I mean, if you say to yourself, given enough time and given a really good effort, and you're having an open dialogue with your trainer about this, maybe they can, maybe the trainer can suggest a clinic to go to say, what, we need some ideas, we need some different input. That's why there is a family, a group of trainers that, like I could talk to Reese about a particular problem and saying, like, this is kind of what's going on. Reese, what do you think about this? Or, that you can look at a horse and rider combination for me and say, is this really not working? Just to get a third party perspective, to get to kind of, give an idea about what's, what could help and when it is time to kind of move on and break up, as it were, between horse and rider, and do your best to find that horse a person or a job. Sometimes horses don't like dressage.
Yeah.
Right.
Or don't like jumping. I mean,
or don't like jumping, or I think we have to be responsible enough to think about the health and mental welfare of the horse to find the right training or the right job, or that everybody's going to be happy. And so, I think if you're talking about, years of having this kind of issue, that's way, way, way too long, and nobody's having a great time. So I think, you got to figure these things out within the span of months to get things on the right track,
Exactly.
Not spin your tires too long and waste a lot of time and a lot of money too. It's not cheap,
absolutely.
Right?
No, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap to be getting lessons and lessons and nothing's going anywhere and everybody's frustrated. Creative ideas, try and figure it out, different perspectives. Yeah, do your best to make everybody happy, And
then I think that sort of moves us into the second part of that question, which is kind of, when do that maybe this horse, it's not, that it's too hard, or it's not just the rider. And I think that there does become a point with some horses where it maybe is too hard. It's just like, I can train and train and train, but I am not going to be an Olympic sprinter. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I could attempt it, and I could train really hard, but I am not going to make it to the Olympics as a runner. If anybody see me run, I'm just not. And I think that I always approach it with my students to think about, athletes. You've got your elementary school athlete, then you have your middle school athlete, then you have your high school athlete, your college athlete, your pro athlete, and then your elite pro, which is the Olympic team athlete. And, I played basketball in middle school. I was not good enough to play basketball in high school, and I think it's the same with horses. You really have to say, okay, I think there's natural progressions in training. Can I get this horse to second level? Can I get this horse to fourth level? Will this horse be an FEI horse?
Right. Right.
And I think there's just times where the horse, and it's not bad. It's just, what is the limit of that horse, and when does it become, pushing that horse physically over what they're capable of doing. And,
Right.
When I hung up my basketball career, I hung up my basketball career because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it. Or without massive training and and it wasn't fun for me anymore. I wanted to ride horses.
Exactly. When every little thing becomes this huge effort, then it's not that much fun for horse or rider. So be creative, try and figure it out. And again, seek a professional for lots of advice, because we don't all have the right answers, but we try and figure it out and try a few different things and get a couple of opinions. It's great that you send your question in to us and we can give you a little bit of information and a little bit what we think. There's a lot of avenues now, right? With
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that we haven't mentioned is listen to your horse. Listen to your horse. If you listen to them, they will tell you. I think sometimes we get blocked with our own dreams and ambitions and, I just need one more score. And the horse says, I just can't do it, or whatever. I think if you really listen to your horse, they'll tell you what they can do and what they can't do. And a lot of evaluation and training. And like I said, sometimes trainers, I'll call Philip when I have an issue and I'll send him a video and say, hey, what do you think? And, there's, again, lots of avenues. But at the end of the day, think about it as horses are athletes, we're athletes. And, it's like, as an athlete, if you want to step it up to the pre-St. George level, there is a level of fitness and commitment that you have to do and all that good stuff. And it's the same for the horses. But they aren't out there for fun sometimes. Sometimes they're out there because we're asking them to, and they're good souls, and they do it. So that's sort of my 2 cents.
Hopefully, hopefully, Vera, that helps you answer your question, or anybody else that's kind of in that kind of situation. You can, you got to be creative sometimes, I think.
Yeah. And if we can always, send your listener questions. We love these. This is a great topic to discuss, and we love any time we can to help.
Yeah, so and we've had listeners send us video, and we've kind of looked at video and try to give our little, our best opinion on what's going on in the video. So that's also another option. With all this great technology, we can really stay in touch and stay close and talk about this stuff. So
exactly. Well, Phil, this was a great show, and I can't wait. I'll see you this weekend on Thursday, and we're going to have lots of great stuff to tell our listeners, and I'm excited about, for sure, the sun and some shopping and and seeing some great training,
some education.
It's gonna be a great fun. So can't wait to show everybody. Keep an eye on our Facebook page. We'll post some pictures as the weekend goes through, and you can find our show notes and links to today's guest on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. You can follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me at philipparksequestrian.com, and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a great show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
And everybody, happy Valentine's Day. That's this week. I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day with your partner. And for sure, give your horsies extra kisses and cookies from us here at the Horse Radio Network. And everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back. And we'll talk to you next week.